What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist. Y otra vez estoy con
Gersh1.
And today we're back to answer more questions from you guys in another spine-tingling and maybe soul-sucking experience known as For the Greater.
I provided sound effects. I hope that was okay. And I hope I didn't ruin people with headphones' ears.
It's ASMR.
Yeah. This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. Dude, Cthulhu. If you have a question for us, please comment down below. Put question in front of your question because we get to those questions first. And that is what good old Timothy Armstrong has done. His question is, can Tyranids that go feral reconnect with the hive mind?
That's very interesting because when I think Tyranids, I don't associate it whatsoever with Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
It's like, what, like, this guy's a comedian from like so long ago. How does the hive mind even know of such a master of a human?
So what's interesting about that is that like Will Ferrell's comedy routine to us right now seems like, oh, okay, he's a comedian, he's an actor, blah, 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 blah. But later on, in like the future, he is one of the very first people to discover the technology to prolong life. He becomes a politician. Eventually, he finds a way to like put his brain into a robot, a Will Ferrell robot. So essentially, he becomes a ever-living like techmagos. He moves to Mars, and then he sends out STCs. All the STCs that are created through his Forge world, they all come with a bonus track of all of his comedy skits. So that gets spread out throughout the galaxy. Will Ferrell not only just becomes like what we know him as, but he actually becomes like a big tech magos within the Adeptus Mechanicus community. And the Tyranids show up many years later. They start consuming all of these like biological matter and stuff like that. And it just so happens that on one of the planets, Will Ferrell's DNA is actually found. I don't know if it's like an old like Band-Aid or something that was there.
I think it was probably from that fight between Will Ferrell and Colin Farrell to see which Ferrell was the most Ferrell of them all.
Yeah. So like the bandages and stuff, kind of like what you know how they have the Jesus's robe where you could see his face and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right now that exists for Will Ferrell. So once they got that, then that's where we got feral Tyranids.
That makes sense.
They're cute. They got like little
curly hair.
Yeah, like a little fro.
Sometimes people confuse them for the drummer of.
What is it?
What is that? It's not Red Hot Chili Peppers, is it?
I'm not into that type of music.
And with that, the shtick is gone.
Yes.
Feral Tyranids, guys.
Yeah.
It's 100% a thing when you don't have synapse.
Yes. Also, I want to highlight though that is a concept that like it is in 40K, where like you can have one person who has lived for over 10,000 years, aka Belisarius Cawl.
Right.
And the reason they could do that is because Belisarius Cawl is a robot.
Pretty much.
Not really, but like, yeah, like it's just his brain, and not even his brain, like it's bits and pieces of his brain. So at that point, it's like the real Belisarius Cawl is probably already dead. Just like the real Will Ferrell probably died a long time ago. It's just like whatever, fro having thing exists in the 40K universe.
Right. And even with Belisarius Cawl, he has thousands or maybe hundreds of like clones or pseudo bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, feral Tyranids. So when a hive mind sends out a tendril, sometimes that tendril loses, and Tyranids get detached from the synapse. So there's no connection between them and the actual original hive mind. And usually it's non-synapse creatures, so you can't do that with gene stealers because that's their whole point. Carnifexes also have like synapse and stuff like that. But when you have hormigons, termagons, those things, they can still survive, just disconnected from the hive mind, and that's what we refer to as a feral Tyranid.
Right.
And what was your question? Oh, can they reconnect with the hive mind? Yeah.
Yeah. As long as you bring some type of synaptic creature, they snap back to reality. They go, oh, there goes gravity.
Yeah. Which reminds me of a story of Eminem. No. But And that was in the tabletop, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really annoying because if you didn't have a synapse creature within, what was it, 12 inches or 24 inches?
I want to say it was 12.
That's ridiculous. But then as soon as like the Carnifex or the Zoanthrope would show up, it's like boom, you can control it like normal now.
Mm-hmm. Which kind of hindered the Tyranids in my opinion, because we did have a friend who played Tyranids, and I feel like everybody would just target those synaptic creatures, and then like the Gribblies would go to their, I think it was called instinctive behavior, which sometimes they didn't even move or they had to charge the closest thing.
And the other thing that sucked too is like this. I think this was back in 5th edition, right, or 6th edition.
It was like fifth, I believe.
What would suck is like obviously if you're a close combat player, you want to get your soldiers up close as quickly as possible. The Termagants and the Hormagaunts are okay to be placed into threat level, right? Like first turn, go ahead, you can try to kill them and stuff like that. But you don't want your Zoanthrope to be moving up 12 inches. Yeah. But then like you have to because you need to have synapse. Because there was another thing too where like they wouldn't do anything, right? Or they wouldn't do what you wanted them to do. Yeah. It was a really complicated and dumb rule.
Yeah. I wonder how that's going to change with like the Tyranids in this edition, or like what's going to be different to give them that little extra oomph.
Yeah.
Maybe they do become Will Feral Tyranids.
Hopefully. Next question.
Glorious victory. In your humble opinions, who is ultimately the most powerful faction within the Imperium? Like, which organization is the most powerful? The Inquisition, the Adeptus Astartes, the High Lords, etc. I would say the Inquisition, because even though they are outright like in your face, like, oh, don't practice witchcraft, we'll come for you. There are very many more that work behind the scenes. You've got some that work with demon hosts and stuff like that. But I feel like their power, their authority is pretty much unmatched. Like, if they say something, that's what it is, and there's very little that the Imperium can do to fight it. Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, at some points they even command, like, the Grey Knights and the Minotaurs and all this stuff. Well, the Minotaurs are commanded by the High Lords. Yeah. But again, the High Lords could be commanded by the Inquisition, so.
I agree, yep. Inquisition is, like, the most, they have the most firepower, basically, too. Well, yes. But I feel like the Navigator houses are untouchable.
Yeah, because they're so important.
Yeah. So the Navigators are basically just the ones that get on the ship and they can actually see the Astronomicon. Without Navigators, you can't travel faster than light.
You can't get goods, armies where they need to.
So they're filthy rich.
Yeah.
This question comes from Eric9. Are there any notable cross-faction friendships in 40K, like the Imperium Chaos or Eldar and Tau? Yes. There's actually quite a few. The Dawn of War series is just littered with them. Yeah. Because of the fact that, like, when you're playing the game, there kind of has to be reasons for them to interact other than just to fight. So you had, I think one of them was, like, Captain... There's a freebooter captain that was friends with an Eldar Farseer who then was betrayed by an Inquisitor or something like that. But yeah, the Farseer and the Orc were working side by side. I created a 40 facts video on it. Just look up 40 facts and lore on captain or freebooter captain, and then it'll pop up. Yeah.
Yeah, whenever you see these friendships, they're more on a smaller scale. Yeah. Just like with Eisenhorn. Spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's friends with like a demon host and whatnot. Yep. Somewhat. But yeah.
And then when you talk big picture, you have what happened on the moon with... so Magnus the Red showed up, about to wreck house, and then Gilliman is being aided by the Harlequins, the Eldar, the Yanari, yeah. So
Yvraine.
Yeah. It happens.
Yeah.
Happens, Captain.
Dry Butter. Who do you think needs an update the most? Both models and new lore. So we kind of touched base on this in the previous for the Greater Wall, but hands down, I feel like it's the Eldar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not the Dark Eldar, Harlequins somewhat, but just the Eldar in general.
Craftworld.
Yeah, Craftworld Eldar. Well, I guess you could even say who needs it the most would be the Exodites.
They don't even have anything.
Exactly. But yeah, the Eldar definitely needs a revamp because a lot of their models are really outdated. Rule-wise, yeah, they need support. There's just so much that the Eldar have going for them, but GW is like, nah.
Yeah.
Let's focus on giving the Space Marines a third version of the classic Marine or something like that.
And we are to blame for that.
Because everybody buys Space Marines.
Yes. Puppy SB says, Pregunta. How does Chaos operate their ships? I know the Imperial Navy has tech priests and officers that are technically competent, but a bunch of Chaos cultists running advanced and complicated machinery just sounds like a recipe for disaster. Reactor blowouts, corn cultists getting pissed at their cognitators and screens. Slaves. Mm-hmm. Slaves to Darkness is the name of that faction, or was the name of that faction, and that's what they are.
Yeah. This next one's by Logan Hunt. So the Primarchs have abilities that the Big E has. So, if Corvus Corax can turn himself into a demon raven, what does the Big E turn into? Has this happened, and what would you like to be? Also, keep the fight against Nurgle, Gershwin.
Yeah, man, thank you. It's really been helping, because one of you guys commented in a 40 Facts video that I should drink like a small little sip of something that's over 40 proof. Like whether it's like whiskey or tequila or something, and it does help because I was like really coughing in the last video, and then this video I've been drinking absinthe with a little bit of whiskey, and yeah, it cleared it up. I feel fine. I could speak like normal. Obviously, long term that doesn't work because as soon as that wears out, then I'm coughing again. But yeah. Oh, also, I think I'm gonna put. Because in the 40 Facts videos, I've been talking to some people's, and you know how TikTokers have like a little like tag in their bio of like Venmo me some money so I could buy some like coffee or shots or whatever. It would be cool if we had that, but instead of just putting the Venmo, you could just support us on Patreon. And on Patreon, I think I'm gonna open up a new little like, what's it called? Perk tier, yeah, a tier where you guys can Venmo us with an actual description of like, hey, here's this for this type of whiskey, here's this for this type of whatever it may
G-string.
And then we'll take the shot or wear the G-string in one of the greater WAAAGHs, because I think it would be nice to be a community thing. Mm-hmm. And it all started because I got sick.
Thanks, Nurgle.
Yeah. What is his question, though?
Okay, so Primarchs have abilities that the Emperor has. Apparently, Corvus Corax can turn into this big-ass demon raven. So what does that mean that the Emperor can do? Turn into a raven as well?
A little girl and a dog.
Yeah. Not just that, but old lady.
Yeah, he's done an old lady, an old man.
Bill Nye the Science Guy, Bridget B. Like, he can turn into whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Shrek.
Shrek is love.
Shrek is life.
Andrea Necci, will you ever make a battle report to show us? Yes, it's coming soon. I've been working on a trench board. It's right over there. And I rearranged my room, which is why we have a different setup. And I've been way more productive lately. So
and that's with him being sick.
Yeah, that's with me being sick. So once that's done, I want to film like an epic, cool like battle report. It's not going to be like a regular thing. It's going to be a one-time, like, over-the-top commentary, like, goofiness type of battle report.
Yeah. In the meantime, we do have a playlist for really shitty battle reports that I've done. So maybe that'll hold you over. But if you want to see some classic, really great battle reports, this guy did a narrative and a regular Kill Team bat rep. So check that one out.
It got 1,000 views.
Right.
Thanks,
after
guys.
putting in 1,000 hours.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And then you guys say, why do you guys just read off the wiki? Because when we put effort into stuff, it does nothing. Next question.
Lachlan Fleming. I felt like I almost had phlegm come out by saying your name. Which faction do you see the most difficult for new players to get into? Perhaps in terms of painting, lore, complexity, and rules. So I think the easiest one is Space Marines, just because there's so much variety, so many options. It's easy, but then hard for new people to get into. But in my opinion, the hardest faction for new players is the Harlequins, because they're painting, like in order to paint them, they have so many like patterns and different color schemes that you have to do. Not just that, but in terms of playability, they seem to be vastly different than most other factions. Where most other factions, you can just like, hey, I'm going to sit back and shoot, or I'm just going to get in there and charge. With their unit types, it's very, you have to like know them inside and out and know your opponents to know which faction would do the best against, or which unit would do the best against that enemy unit.
Yeah, that's true. What's funny though is I don't feel like we've ever had a friend who who wants to play, starts an army, and leaves it because it's not easy to understand.
Mm-hmm.
We've had friends who stop playing because they're losing.
Yeah.
So like in the beginning, Death Guard wasn't very good, and our friend, the Death Guard player, he eventually was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna play this," and he went to Space Marines. But then Death Guard got good. He still doesn't play them,
Right.
but you know.
Yeah.
So I guess the key also is find a faction that can win.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're introducing a friend, make sure that friend, like his first game he's playing against you, let him win. Don't be over the top about it, but just like let him have small victories.
Yeah. Don't just give him a crushing table on turn 2 defeat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, let him play the game.
Yeah. This question comes from Kana. Oh, this is going to be a long one. Greetings from Poland. Hi. Or what was the Polish greeting? Dzień dobry. But even though, like, I went to a supermarket in Poland and I said dzień dobry. No, that means thank you. So I said dzień dobry to somebody, and then the girl was like, no, you don't say that. Like, that's very, like, formal. Like, you're not supposed to say that. So, comment down in the comment section below if you know what I'm supposed to say. The biggest soul sucker is the Prince of Pleasure themselves. The Knife Eaters know. The Knife Eaters know. I don't know what that means, man. Your question is, since the fall of Cadia, how much more ferocious have been the dealings of Astra Militarum and the Chaos Forces? How much more ferocious have been the dealings of Astra Militarum?
So I guess he's saying, since Cadia fell, shouldn't like the forces of the Imperium have more of like a revenge? We have to get them against Chaos.
Oh, okay.
I feel like that was always the case.
Yeah.
And I feel like GW never really made it a thing that like, oh, you know, the Cadians, they need to get their revenge, or they're like throwing their lives, you know, just to, you know, deal a blow to Chaos. That I don't think that ever was a thing.
Yeah, GW really dropped the ball on that one. I feel like the more Imperial Guard regiments should be, like they should want to kill Chaos more because Cadia fell.
Right, but I feel like it's just the same. It's like, oh no, Cadia fell, but we have the Cicatrix Maledictum, and we have this to take care of. It's like they have bigger threat to take care of, that they can't just go squandering their anger at Abaddon and his crusade.
Yeah, but that's also like homebrew
Yeah.
territory. So like if you create a Imperial Guard regiment, make sure that you tie it to the fall of Cadia somehow, and that'd be really nice to be like it's their vendetta, or like they're trying to kill, Chaos. Maybe even a specific like faction, like they're trying to hunt down the Ark or the Chaos Lord, blah blah blah. Yeah.
Or you could make it into an actual rule on the tabletop when you're fighting against the Black Legion. 6s deal an extra wound or something.
Yeah. This question comes from the big one. What name is funnier, Penis, so P.Ness, or Jenny Tulls?
I think Jenny Tulls.
That's more realistic. I think if somebody sees Penis, like instantly they'll be like, "Oh, you're trying to play a joke." But if somebody says Jenny Tulls, that would be funny.
Because most people don't automatically think genitals. They think, "Oh, that's Jenny from the block."
Right.
She's tall.
Yeah. J-Lo's kind of thick.
And speaking of thick, we've got Tommy Falcon, a battle royale of the remaining 18 founding chapters. They are allowed to bring everything they've got, but no plot armor, and every chapter for themselves. In this One Mind Syndicate free-for-all, who are the last 3 remaining chapters? The last 2, the last 1.
Including like the after they become traitor or no?
He said all 18. 18 founding chapters, yeah. So traitors and loyalists all going at it with everything they've got.
I think instantly, like, it has to be a chaos faction. So it has to be like one of the.
Because I feel like, well, here's the thing: if it's everything they got, are we counting demons that they've aligned with? Like Angron can bring in bloodletters, bloodthirsters, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because then for sure chaos.
Chaos, yeah. But if you count like the Ultramarines and everything they got, Guilliman technically is like the supreme commander of the Imperium, so he could bring in everything. Astra Militarum, Sisters of Battle, like.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes chaos against the Imperium.
Yeah. So that's a difficult one.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for simplicity, let's just say like 30K before they go chaos. I would go Thousand Suns.
No, because they were struggling with numbers. They were struggling with the freaking like psychic disease that they had.
Well, no, but like when it comes to a free for all, everything they have, I feel like they would. Well, I mean, it could be anybody, but like in my like concept, they were the strongest psyker in the entire 18,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think that it would just be like them going, toe to toe with the Imperial Fist, next toe to toe with the Raven Guard.
Mm-hmm.
I think they know more about the warp to the point where like they could survive longer than even the Word Bearers.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
so you'd say they'd be top 3, or they'd come out on top?
I would say they just come out on top. That's a tough question, yeah. Without knowing like what the boundaries are, because is it like the entire galaxy? What type of war are they fighting? And then it just becomes a thing of like, which one do I want to win?
Right.
What would you say?
I was gonna say that the Luna Wolves and Horus, but then I'm thinking numbers, and I think the Ultramarines had the most numbers, so that would mean Guilliman and his Ultramarines would come out on top.
If
but
it's
then,
a numbers game.
Yeah, but then numbers don't really mean anything if you got freaking the Thousand Suns that could just snap and like thousands of Marines just are blown up.
Yeah. That's a difficult question.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an answer.
Right. Who I want to win? The Blood Angels.
Yeah, that would be nice. I think the Night Hunters would be kind of cool, or the
Night Lords.
Night Lords would be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To show you that, hey, us prisoners can really beat all these other guys up.
Yeah, we're sadistic. We're just killers. We're basically pirates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or maybe the Alpha Legion. I feel like that should have been my go-to.
Yeah, it's like, oh, the Ultramarines won. Wait, it's the Alpha Legion all along. Yeah.
And those were the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, please comment down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, as always, this has been
This is Gersh1
and the Sound Alchemist signing out.